Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, and this is Romans, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the gaming industry and what the future of gaming is going to look like, and specifically if live service games are responsible for killing the creativity across the industry. I'm a little bit more on that side. I think there are some good live service games out there, but I think for the most part, it's sapping all the creativity out of some of these studios that used to be coming up with really great ideas. And it's not just kind of leaving us in a place where we're not really getting the quality that we are used to and should have been getting.
Interesting. It's perfect because I just came from a gaming conference, CGDC, in Michigan. So super relevant, as I heard from the people who make video games themselves. Let's dig in. I'm curious. Maybe for the folks listening at home, a live service game may not actually mean anything. So I'll give you my definition, and then you can give your definition. So a live service game to me is a game that isn't over just because you bought it. It still is pumping out new content, and so the game is alive. So whatever you play today may not be the same game you're playing a year from now.
Yeah. A good example of a live service game that everyone's going to be familiar with is Fortnite. A lot of live service games. Never heard of it. Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of guys from Fortnite that you may have been aware of over the years, but essentially it's a continuous gameplay loop where the gameplay itself has some minor changes over time, but the studio is consistently adding new content, whether it's new cosmetics, new gimmicks in the gameplay, different things like that. And I really do. There are some fantastic games out there that are live service games. Fortnite is not so successful for absolutely no reason. People absolutely love Fortnite. I remember when it first came out, me and all my friends would play it. I actually played it when the Battle Royale, for those of you who, I don't know if you remember this, but the Battle Royale was actually just a beta test for the original survival game that they were going to release. That they did eventually release. You had to pay for it, but the Battle Royale from Fortnite was a beta for the original game that they were going to release. So I remember when they still had all these like traps no one knew how to build, and now the game is completely unrecognizable to that game. There you can play Guitar Hero. You can. It's now a racing game too. You can play a Lego version of it. It has become kind of the blueprint for a perfectly successful live service game.
Fortnite. Guess how much money it has made in the life. It's been around since 2018. How much money do you think Fortnite has made in the last 7 years?
The last 7 years, I'm gonna guess 300 billion.
Calm down, sir. 40 billion. It's made 40 billion. It's only made 40 billion. Calm down.
Only 40 billion.
In 2025, it's going to hit around 6 billion. It's on track to hit 6 billion. So, and it's been hitting 6 billion pretty much every year for the past couple years, going back to COVID. So
that's nuts.
That is crazy.
I went with an outrageous guess because I figured it was going to be something outrageous. So my guess just sounded even more outrageous than it actually was, which is fine.
It's interesting how 40 billion doesn't sound like that much thanks to your crazy number. But 40 billion is insane.
40 billion is insane, especially considering like I'm curious to know what their initial budget for the game was, especially given that like the Battle Royale was more of like just a beta test of the game. But this is one of the success Fortnite has had is one of the main reasons that we're seeing all these games push for live service. Why we're seeing all these studios that want to release a live service game that can have people consistently paying, consistently giving them money over time instead of just buying a $60 game once.
Well, name a city. Name a city you like in the U.S. Name any city, a major
New
city.
York.
Oh, come on, don't do. Why? What is with you in choosing giant cities? All right, so the GDP
Listen,
of
you
New.
said name a city.
Okay, well, the GDP of New York is 2 trillion. So I was trying to get it more relatable because this game
All right,
is
let's
40.
go with Miami. Let's go with
Miami.
Miami.
Miami's actually pretty impressive.
That
Miami's no joke.
It's probably still pretty high too.
Yeah, yeah. You went you like 200. Oh, 240. 240 billion.
240,
So if you think about it, Fortnite is making what is that? 1/6?
1/5. Yeah,
Yeah, of
1/5 the GDP of the city of Miami.
think about all the people that live in Miami. How many humans? This is population of Miami. Population. I'm from Miami. That's so dense over there. There's 500,000
Hmm.
people. Anyways, we could go on
Oh my
forever. Fortnite's a lot of money here, guys. A lot of money. All right, moving
Yeah.
on. Moving on.
But because of that, you've had so many games that have come out that are looking to capitalize on that same success. Now, there are some great games out there. I know a lot of people that are really into Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has been very consistent. A lot of people really enjoy the game. Marvel Rivals recently came out. It's still a live service game, one of the hero shooter live service games, kind of standing on the shoulders of Overwatch and Overwatch 2 a little bit. Even games like Apex Legends, which are a little bit more specific to one genre with the Battle Royale, still live service. You're still getting all the cosmetics and elements. They're all have been pretty successful. But for all the success stories, there have been numerous games that have went to live service and failed. Games like Marvel's Avengers back in 2020. I know a bunch of people that were super excited about that for like I believe that was Square Enix was one of the main studios on that, if I am remembering correctly. And Square Enix, they're a fantastic story-driven studio. Um, and if I'm right, that they got forced into a corner with a live service game that failed epically, discontinued service after just a couple of years. Talking about discontinuing service quickly, a game that epically failed that tried to capitalize on the live service. How many of you remember Concord? This game that lasted 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something like that. The game was launched and in under a month discontinued because of how terrible the reception was for a hero shooter live service game that was supposed to be the new PlayStation live service title and failed epically, not even lasting a month.
It was only
And
two
then not
weeks. It was only 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I was right in the first place. Dang. 2 weeks and failed in epic proportion. Yeah, I think because of the success of Fortnite, have all these gaming studios, AAA studios, whether it be Ubisoft, Square Enix, Xbox, all of these major players in video games see the success of Fortnite, see the success of some of these live service games, and they see the profits that it can generate. We just talked about Fortnite having $40 billion of revenue over 7 years. For a company, that's incredibly attractive. But I think a lot of these gaming studios lose touch of what actually drove people to some of these live service games, what actually makes them good, and what provides someone like the desire to go and play these games.
Well, I think Concord was beaten into the ground, but just for the sake of beating it further into the ground, it was a
Why not?
game that took 8 years to make. They spent over $200 million in 8 years for a game that died in 2 weeks. And I would tell you, Concord died for a few reasons, but the main reason is a lot of these live service games are actually free, and Concord was
Mm-hmm.
trying to sell it for $40. So Concord is an
Dang.
example of a greedy game that was already bad, who wanted to basically take even more money from its players in when it's a sea of free games in that same genre, and the game was ugly. The other side, the other reason why Concord died is just frankly an ugly game. The characters were
Yeah.
ugly and uninspiring. There was just an art style that just didn't resonate. Like the game has to be either relatable or so far out it's fantastical. And what Concord created were just characters that just seemed anemic, like bland,
Yeah.
unattractive, and frankly weird. Like when characters look weird, there should be a reason. Like Venom is a weird character, but it
Yeah.
makes sense because of the way he acts, right? He throws his stuff around, and all these characters are very muted. They were just ugly for the sake of an artistic style that we will give them mercy by not saying why they chose their aesthetics. But
Yeah. On
anyway,
a similar note, Romans, did you ever watch the Secret Level series on Amazon Prime?
yes, I've seen a couple of them, half of them.
Did did you know they made a Concord one? They made a Concord episode in Secret Level. So Concord will never be able to silently die. It will be memorialized forever in the Secret Level series.
The secret
And if you
level. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say if you guys haven't watched it yet, you should definitely check it out. Some of the episodes are absolutely fantastic. If you are at all a Warhammer nerd whatsoever, the Warhammer episode is so good. The new Pac-Man episode, I was fascinated by, and it actually made me interested in this new game, which I probably would not have been interested in before, because it is a departure from anything Pac-Man you have ever seen before. But they did a really great job. And then you watch the Concord episode, and it's just hilarious to see the production quality that they pumped into this absolutely terrible show for a terrible game that will live on forever and memorialize PlayStation's $200 million mistake.
We got to give Concord something, and I'll tell you that there was a new hot take. Their take of these typical games. There's a cart you have to move. And the one
Hmm.
cool thing that Concord did is you could actually just kill the other team enough to not care about the cart. Because
Hmm.
sometimes you'll play on teams, you just get the matchmaking. Anyway, that we should do an episode on matchmaking, how terrible it is. But anyways, matchmaking can be terrible. And something that I liked about Concord, I'll give it one good thing it did. You can outkill the other team if defending or pushing the cart isn't working because your team has no chemistry. You could
Hmm.
save the game by just
Interesting.
out fragging the other team and focusing on that and not caring about the OBJ, the objective, and just. So I'll give Concord that one positive
Yeah.
for Concord in a sea of negativity. Rah. And in the Marvel
Yeah.
Avengers, I'll tell you, me and my son loved Marvel Avengers. Not to be confused with Marvel Rivals, which me and my son also love. But Marvel Avengers was such a good game if one of your kids was younger. The other problem there is the characters just unattractive. Like they just were not
Yeah.
fun. Like not necessarily I'm calling them ugly. They're fine, but they just were not fantastical. Like you play a game to escape reality. I do not play a game so I can look like my average human being on this planet. They should look like Hulk should look absolutely jacked out of his mind. The girls should obviously look super attractive. The guys should look super attractive, and they should just look. They should look like basically as Giga Chad as possible, right? Because this is
Hmm.
like heroes of in this world. They're the heroes of the planet, right? They're in a
Yeah.
way they're mini. They're demigods, right? They're lesser
Yeah.
versions of Jesus in their own. They're failed versions of Jesus, but they're heroes. You look up to them, and
Yeah.
they look like a Panera Bread employee. Like I don't.
I was, yeah. I remember I was considering getting the game because it looked somewhat interesting. And then I saw one video on YouTube of Captain America in like his World War II skin with like the eyes bugging out weird. And I was like, what even is this? It just looks like a low quality game. And this is something that they're trying to like continue pushing out content for the next 5 years. And I'm like, it doesn't for me at least. I was like, this doesn't look like a good game.
Well, the other thing that killed it for me and my son is the repetitive nature of the grind. So what me and my
Mm,
son figured out is it doesn't matter if you even play the game. All you have to do is run around the map and buy the gear until you hit max rank. Like you don't even have to play. You don't have to play the game. If you just do the story, you'll have enough resources, and then after you finish the story, what you do is you just run around the map where all the vendors are, and every like hour or so, you just go around and buy everything, and you can max your characters. So,
Yeah.
or you could grind yourself away playing levels after level, getting the wrong gear. Like imagine you're trying to level up and you need a really strong gauntlet or some gloves or whatever they're called, and the
Yeah.
game just giving you boots. You could just go to the
Mm-hmm.
vendor to buy the gauntlet. And I just told my son, why are we even why play? And then there wasn't enough variety in the levels. Like there's
Yeah.
only so many times. It felt like there's only 25 levels. And if you're gonna do a
Hmm.
live service game, you have to give me the gameplay loop has to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And the bosses were very mechanical. Like they just weren't. They never seemed to be harder. They just had a specific type of poison or burn on them. Uh,
Yeah.
it the way that they were trying to create complexity failed. And then clearly they wanted you to spend money on the skins and things, but I'm cheap. You have to make the skins look amazing. But again, trying to make me buy skins on characters that look like generic normal humans. Like
Yeah.
like nah, I want it to look like a superhero. I'm not here to
Yeah.
dress up Ken and
I will.
Barbie.
I want a Miku Miku beam in Fortnite.
Who? I don't play Fortnite. Yeah, yeah, like that guy or girl, whoever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so for Seuss.
Hatsune Miku. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that dancing person. Yeah, I don't know much about it. I just
Yeah.
know they dance all around the map. For Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, I'll tell you, the story in that game was amazing. The problem there was the same problem as Marvel Avengers. The loot grind was just
Mm.
boring, and there wasn't enough variety in the missions. They were so
Yeah.
linear, and like, what's the point? I beat it, but the story,
Well,
yeah.
hold that thought. We're actually
Okay,
going to get into that a
okay,
little bit
cool.
more
All
later,
right.
but a little teaser for the future. But let's contrast that with some of the big story games that have come out recently and had a lot of success. Because I really want to look at this because there are certain studios that are really pushing out great story games still, but there's enough of these companies that are falling to live service because of how profitable they can be that I think we're starting to kind of slowly see maybe some of that phase out. A couple games that came to mind for me recently is Baldur's Gate 3 2 years ago, won Game of the Year, was a fantastic story game. But again, that was a AAA studio, not a, or sorry, it was a AA studio, not a AAA studio. So this was a studio, Larian, that had been working on this game for years and years and years, really wanted to perfect it, and was able to put out an amazing game. That one Game of the Year that they're still updating to this day, but it's not a live service game. I mean, a patch came out this year with new subclasses for players to play. New, I believe there was even some new like modding capabilities where you can bring in different species, different areas of 5e into the game that weren't there before. So it's not a live service game, but they're continuing the service up into 2 years later when they're still committed to never putting out a DLC. You're getting the game, and that's it. And then another game came out this year. We've talked about it before. Clair Obscur. Interestingly enough, another AA studio that spent years working on this game. It was a passion project, story-based game. I have not talked to one person yet that has not loved that story, loved the gameplay, loved that game. But interesting thing about that is, again, we're seeing very rarely some of these AAA studios put out good games. I would say an exception to that would be God of War and God of War Ragnarok. Both of those games, fantastic AAA studio games that really, really did a great job creating an investing story that you really, really wanted to play. You wanted to follow through. I know for me personally, I wanted to play that every day so I could continue to see how the story would go, how Atreus would relate to his father, and kind of what would happen. But it's interesting that we're seeing less and less of those, from my perspective at least, less and less of those great story driven games coming from big studios because there's this push for how profitable some of these live service games can potentially be, and it's potentially costing them some of their greatest studios that have been around for decades, that have been putting out amazing games, that are now either not putting out good quality games or being closed because the games that they have been forced to put out have not been good.
Well, let's do a telling the tape, right? So our key example is Concord, 8 years, 200 million.
Hmm.
The game you just said, Baldur's Gate 3, took 100 million and 6 years to make. Claire Obscure was 6 years as well. They only spent 30 million.
Mm.
God of War took 5 years and 200 million. So just to give you a frame of reference, so basically what it seems like AAA games are spending around 200 million and 5 to 10 years, and then below that, the Baldur's Gate and Claire you'd say are double A or single A, or they're not
Yeah.
AAA games. They're made with half the money and probably 1,000 times the love, maybe
Yeah.
10,000 times. I think Baldur's Gate is one of those games that will probably be loved for the next 30 years. Claire Obscure will be loved for the next 5 years, unless they keep working on it. I'm not sure if there's a sequel or DLC or whatever, but Claire Obscure,
Yeah,
maybe
I'm not
three
sure.
years. 3 years, it'll be loved. And I will tell you the reason why Baldur's Gate, and you know this because you played it, Baldur's Gate, they literally thought of everything. I don't know if there's something you can do in Baldur's Gate that the developers didn't think you'd try and have some type of response. I saw one where there's a level where there's these trolls, and there's something about a missing dagger, and there's
A
literally
horn. A
a
horn.
horn, and there's literally
Yep.
like 30 different ways to get around that encounter, or even more. It's just, and some of the most funniest ones are along the lines of stealing it, and they find it, they find out you stole it from them, and then they kill you. It's like, why? It, the Baldur's Gate narrative storytelling, I'm not sure which team is in charge of alternate paths. The pathing team,
Yeah.
the decision tree
Yeah.
team, those guys literally worth it. They're what I was gonna say they're worthless. They're what's the opposite of worthless? They're worth
Priceless.
priceless. Oh my god, they're priceless. Not worthless. The Baldur's Gate team, they're absolutely priceless. They're just so geniuses. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Another kind of like case that's interesting to look at is what's happened. Well, again, going back to Suicide Squad, but the team for that, Rocksteady, was the same team responsible for the Arkham trilogy, which is some of it's the greatest Batman series of Batman games that's ever been released. I will hang my hat on that confidently. And it's some of the best story-based games that have ever been released too. But instead of being allowed to build and promote a new story-based game, the studio was told that they had to build a live service game. I'd never played it because I heard so many people just absolutely trashing it. But upon like watching some of the gameplay, you can really see like this team did not have passion for what they were doing. Like if you compare the gameplay of Suicide Squad to the Arkham games, like the level of detail you can do in setting up a trap for goons in an Arkham game with all your different gadgets. You can spend 30 minutes sneaking around the map, setting up all these traps, and then you immediately can, as one guard sets a tripwire, gets hung by a grappling hook or something like that, then you've completely solved the level. Versus the video game vomit of like all these different numbers as you're blasting your way through all these enemies in Suicide Squad. It's not engaging, and you can really tell from like the studio there's no passion to this game. There's not anything that they were super excited about, some sort of innovation there, and it just fell flat. And now I'm not sure what's going to happen to Rocksteady because they had this amazing reputation for these great Arkham games, and now their last game is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And who was going to hold that up and be like, "Oh yeah, I want to work with that studio. I want to make a game with the people that made Kill the Justice League." Like I don't know what this is going to do to that studio. long term.
Well, so Suicide Squad took 9 years to make, and they spent 200 million. Guess how much revenue they made on that game? Spent 200 million to make a game. Took 9 years to develop. How much revenue do you think they made? And it's going to be a general number, like a one number.
100 million.
You wish, 10 million.
Oh my gosh.
They
Made
spent
5%. 5% of their
yeah,
investment
and,
back.
obviously I'm doing research on the fly if anyone's watching the YouTube video, so I'm not even checking the marketing. I'm not sure if the number I gave you with 200 million to develop includes marketing, because marketing usually is 50% to 150% of the
Yeah.
budget.
My gosh.
But it doesn't matter. 200 million, 9 years, and they made 10 million. I can't. Oh my gosh, Suicide Squad killed the development is what really
Yeah,
happened.
my
Oh my
gosh.
goodness. Like no one's going to those guys probably work at Costco now. There's no way anyone's gonna hire them. Like, can it is sad because the Arkham, the whole Batman. Obviously, you're fanboying over it, but it is a fantastic game, and it just proves it's more of a lesson that just because you make a great story-driven game, single player experience, doesn't mean you have any experience at all in live service. And also from a business standpoint, you should know when to say no. Somewhere on that team,
Yeah.
someone on that team should have had the wherewithal to say, you guys, we're making a bad game. And you should have saved face and told whoever you're working with, we spent 50 million, we can't save this. Which I remember this game had a couple pivots. They tried to save it a couple times. So they knew. Someone in there knew.
Hmm.
And they still pressed the go button. But I will tell you, Suicide Squad Killer just has a fantastic story. The story is amazing. It's actually dark and gritty. I won't say who, but a couple folks bite the dirt.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. It's interesting that a game can still have great story and no one want to play it. Even though it's a studio that's known for their story and that's what is good about the game, and still no one wants to play it because of how bad the rest of the game is. It's really sad. But and that kind of lanes into what you were talking about of like being willing to know when to say no, has laid kind of moved into what I wanted to talk about next, which is all these layoffs that we've been seeing from these big studios, whether it be like just a couple, I think it was a month ago or so, that Microsoft announced how much they're cutting from the Xbox division and studios, and they're shutting down entire gaming studios that have been working on games for years, just completely washing their hands of it, moving on. Ubisoft, Epic has been laying off people even with how successful it has, like Fortnite has been. It's amazing to see that like all of these major studios are being forced to lay off people in mid development cycle, like games that have been stuck in development hell for years that people are super excited about, now never going to see the light of day because these major studios are just cutting cutting their budgets.
I'll give them one out. I think that is also a post-COVID world. I think, or maybe I shouldn't give them an out. I think a lot of people super hired during COVID to, thinking that there was like we would all be trapped in our homes for a very long time. And
Mm,
so because of that, a lot of folks overhired, and we're finally seeing the correction because people are going outside and touching grass. I think that's a big part of it, and the other side of it is the as we are going outside, we're not spending as much as they thought we were. We aren't
yeah.
consuming the things that they were developing. So on top of them building things that nobody would actually want to buy in any scenario, the normal market correction is occurring. So it is unfortunate. I've met quite a few of these people that have been absolutely affected. The thousands upon thousands of jobs. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad to see, and where a lot of these like cuts are coming as some of these bigger companies are consolidating studios, like with Microsoft buying Bethesda and some of these other major studios are consolidating down to a couple studios. And what that, for me, at least what I'm seeing there, is you're losing a lot of these studios that specialize in one specific type of game. Um, like the Rocksteadies out there that have really honed in their skills in this one area and are now being forced to kind of walk in a place where they're not comfortable, where they're not used to, and you're losing a lot of the creativity that some of these studios are known for. And they're just being forced to work on projects that they're not passionate about, that they're not really striving to find, oh, what's this new gameplay mechanic? What's something new that has never been done before that we can really take to market and make something special? And I know for game developers, that takes a toll on them, because you, as a game developer, don't want to go to the office working on something you hate day after day after day. And you're not going to be able to pour yourself into that same project again and again and again and have the same result as if it's something that you're really passionate about and want to see be successful because it matters to you.
True. So with the industry shakeup, where's all this talent going? What are they doing?
Yeah,
they're going indie.
Exactly.
They're going indie, and they're going out of industry. They're finding other jobs. Maybe they're also working at the Costco. They're going somewhere to get ends to meet after this huge glut. And so I will tell you that the future is bright. Whether the sea of indie games have been absolutely skyrocketing. Whether you were talking about Hollow Knight, I don't know. I would definitely put Hades. I think I don't know. Claire Obscure is really considered an indie game because they had $30 million is I guess maybe they are indie. $30 million isn't, I guess, that much, although that is a ton of money.
At the very least, it's a AA game, not a AAA game.
The big dog games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great time. There's this company called Tencent. If you haven't heard of it, this Tencent, they're owned by China, and man, they're just buying a little bit of everybody. If there was one company that is promising, maybe, hopefully, this Tencent company is quite surprising. They almost own every game you've ever loved. I don't know what to make of that. I hope that's a good thing, but it's always scary when someone starts buying a little bit of everybody. That's like, where? And they're making even more money on top of it. I'm not sure if they're fixing it or what, but man, like Helldivers 2 is a game I personally love. They own a part of that. They own a part of Riot Games, which makes the Rage of Legends games and all those other great games. They bought from the downfall of, I don't know if Bethesda, but the other game that we were just talking about that fell apart. The Assassin's Creed, the guys who made Assassin's Creed. What's their name?
Ubisoft.
Yeah, they bought a huge portion of the IP of Ubisoft. Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk about it another day. But let's move on to a different segment of this podcast. Let's get into this. Let's get into this hot topic. You set the groundwork. What are we going to talk about for the next 10 minutes or less?
So 10 minutes. Wow.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
You have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I got a lot.
Yeah, we in the last couple episodes have been debating a little bit back and forth on some different opinions we have. And today, Romans is convinced that indies is the last hope for creativity in gaming. I think there is still hope for some of these big studios. But Romans is going to present your case, Romans. What do you think about
I have the
games?
easy one. So we're going to debate this. We're going to choose opposite sides. And I'm choosing the side that indie is the last hope for creativity in gaming. And I'll tell you, because there's two letters entering the gaming scene. A lot of people are afraid of it. And there's a lot of it that's not good. But I think it'll mature and get better. And that is Apple Intelligence. Just kidding. AI. Apple is working on their AI thing. Who knows if it's intelligent. But AI is just a topic for another day. But AI is impacting everything. It's impacting
Mm-hmm.
people are making video games through AI. So we can question later how AI has built its learning model, where it's pulling all this intelligence from. But it is going to absolutely shortcut all these indie game developers to create games. And even before AI, all the technology that is before all these great platforms to make video games on is just so easy these days to make good games. As long as you think of a good gameplay loop, you have a great story to tell. There's a marketplace to basically shortcut a lot of the dev cycle to finish a game with a minimal team. Like Power
Yeah.
World, I know Power World is in a good place mostly because Nintendo's absolutely out to destroy them. But Power World has made somewhere around 500 million, and I think they only had a team of 7 people.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Power was made, I think, by 7 people, and 6 of them have prior experience, and one of them was a high school student. So think about all the other businesses you could think of the world where you can make $500 million with like roughly 7 dudes in a dream. I can't think of another. So if I wanted to put, if we wanted to put my thesis on Wittenberg Castle, I would say my big one would be the power. I'm just coming strong, Scruffy. Power World, $500 million. Your AAA games after 9 years made 10 million.
All right. Well, maybe one of them. But I have one of the all-time greatest games in my corner, Red Dead Redemption 2. There is no way any sort of indie studio would ever have the capability of making a game like Red Dead Redemption 2. We're about to get the new GTA. That's going to be huge. Same studio as Red Dead 2. And for some of these games, it makes sense why it takes so long because the quality of the final game is unlike anything you're ever going to play. I cannot think of a single game that has the in-depth immersion that a game like Red Dead 2 has. Like you are Arthur Curry in Red Dead Redemption 2. Literally any single thing you want to do in that world, you can do. The AI responds to it within the game. And I mean, I truly do think that's going to go down as one of the best games coming, like ever of all time. And that's only possible when you have a dedicated team of developers that can really, really make something that will last. There's a lot of indie games out there that have great ideas that are coming out with fantastic games that are changing the industry. But for those games that are going to stand the test of time as games that will last forever, I think that that is going to happen by dedicated game studios that have the money to really pour in and make something quality. And it does cost the time because you need to have something that people are passionate about making. Because making a game like Red Dead 2, like the next GTA, they're wanting to do something different that's never been done before. And it does take time and it takes money sometimes because that's how innovation happens. You have to spend money on innovation in a lot of these areas because you can't develop these technologies that have never been used before just with a dream. A lot of the time you have to spend money on figuring out how to do it. So I do think that there's still hope for AAA games. I think we're in a dark time right now, but I do think over time we're going to really see some of these studios come out with games that are going to be big game changers.
So, your game, RDR2, Red Dead Redemption 2, it made $1.4 billion. Remember that, $1.4 billion. It took 2,000 people to make that game. So it made $700 million per employee, if you will, to at the end of the day, 200 million. There's a game, Stardew Valley, made by one guy, $500 million. Pound for pound, they're almost equal. And I would tell you, when we talk about the test of time, fast forward 10 years, people will still be playing Stardew Valley. I don't think they'll be playing Red Dead in 10 years because Red Dead 3 will come out and make another $1.4 billion and take 4,000 people to make it. But Stardew Valley will still be making $100 million a year. It's no longer made by one guy. He eventually recruited others, but it definitely wasn't 2,000. He has a host, mods up the wazoo. RDR2 also has a vibrant modding community. There are people who live in the RDR world with their little space cowboys, wrong game, with their cowboy friends, riding their horses, robbing trains, cops and robbers type stuff that they're doing in RDR2. But I'll tell you another game that I'll give you. I hear you, and I'll give you another game, Hades. Hades is a great game. Hades has made over 100 million potentially, and it's another indie game. And then I'll give you another one. Terraria has made around 60 million. And these games will live longer. I think Terraria will live longer than Hades. Hades will definitely
Probably
will stop. People will stop playing it,
especially with Hades 2 around the corner.
And I'll tell you my pet project, RimWorld, my favorite game of all time. RimWorld was also a game made by one person. It's made over $100 million, not including there's mods up the wazoo. RimWorld, made by the creator of RimWorld, is by a guy named Tyan Sylvester. Let me tell you, there aren't many people I'd love to meet in the gaming space. I'd like to meet this guy. If we can somehow marketing team aim it at RimWorld, I will meet Tiny anywhere in the world. Not sure what he's up to these days. They just dropped a new DLC, by the way. It's fantastic from what I've seen. I wish I had time to play it, and I will one day. But all I'm saying is the future is bright for indie, because RimWorld, every single game I rattled off, RimWorld, Hades, Terraria, Stardew Valley, they're all still alive. And RimWorld came out, I think, before COVID, 2018. RimWorld came out in 2018. It is 2025, still in development, and still making tons of moolah. And really, it's still a very tiny, tiny little team. And but it's a very dedicated game. It's a game made for everyone is a game made for no one. Even RDR2 is really made for those who love that Western story. Yeah. And the story of RDR2, like, I know a game is good when I cry. RDR2, the way it ends, won't say it. You'll never guess it. Probably won't guess it. The way RDR ends, I don't know if I could have finished it. I think I would have stopped playing the story just to keep it where it was. Hopefully it doesn't give away too much. But there's parts of the story where life is good. I guess that's pretty obvious. There's parts of the story where life is good. And I don't want to see where this train tracks go. So I'll give you that, your $1.4 billion game. 71 million copies sold. It took like 9 years to develop. I already forgot what I wrote down in my notes. It took a long time to make RDR2.
Yeah.
Great game.
But that's what it takes to make one of these truly masterpiece games. And you have other like big games like the Spider-Man games that are truly just like not perfect games, but amazing games that take you on an absolute roller coaster ride. Very innovative, that an indie team could make something similar. They can have interesting game loops, interesting stories with really complex characters. But there's something to be said about the quality of a well-made AAA game. AAA games are just, when they're done well, something to behold. Like, again, going back to the God of War games, the story and the gameplay of the God of War games is so incredibly good. And I'm excited to see where the story continues with some of these games and the Spider-Man games. I think that these AAA studios, the ones that have good vision for the future, are going to continue to put out masterpieces. And I think I will give you this, the indie revival is pushing these games pretty far. Uh, I think it's forcing these AAA studios to be more honest and actually have to invest more creativity into the games, which I think is going to benefit them. So I think indie games are going to always have their place, especially with how as the environment's changed now. I don't think it's going to be a stranglehold of these AAA studios. I think they will still have their place though. The ones that remain and that remain established through this transition period we're in are going to continue to make creative games that are absolute masterpieces that everyone's going to want to play.
I will wrap up our conversation by saying that you love heavyweights. You love the Mike Tysons, the Evander Holyfields, and I like
Philadelphia Eagles, go Birds.
I like the Manny Pacquiaos of the world, right? What's that guy who never lost? Floyd Mayweather. Actually, I don't like Floyd Mayweather as a person, but you can't deny he knows how to win for points. Instead of fighting, he's winning for points. But anyways, my point is that both there's room for both, right? Who doesn't like a good Mike Tyson fight that though? You paid probably thousands of dollars for it to be over in 16 seconds or less when he was in his prime. But I'll tell you, there's one thing I didn't talk about this, the dark side of AI. I think we're going to get a glut of garbage games. We're going to get a glut of games that steal the souls of RDR2, and they're going to call it RDR and come up with some other number that's not 2. They're going to and it's the same game. AI is going to absolutely disrespect anything along the lines of creativity or ownership or IP and copy something, spin it enough so that it can't be tracked, or maybe it will be tracked. And I hopefully the folks in charge of preventing such nonsense, I think that's the dark side, and I think we're going to see a lot of that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, though, the indie world is going to flourish quite well. I think we're going to have a lot of great those teams that wish they had someone who could just support another part of the mechanic. They'll be use technology to handicap them through it, and they'll still have a great story, and still make lots of moolah, and be able to be the little Manny Pacquiaos of the gaming space.
And I do think some of these indie studios will, as they continue to do well and flourish, will become like legit studios. I think a lot of them will probably still remain relatively small, but studios like Larry and studios like, I forget the name of the team, but the people that made Clair Obscur, teams behind games like Helldivers, will, as they can find continued success, will be able to continue to improve on the quality. They'll be able to hire people that are passionate about what they're doing, and continue to make quality games. And I think it's going to continue to get better. So I do think that indie games really do have a great place, and they're going to help the gaming industry as a whole. But I don't think the heavyweights are going to go down with a sinking ship. I think they will find a way to stay afloat and still make quality games.
Clair Obscur was made by Sandfall, a French-based studio.
Yep, Sandfall Entertainment. That's right.
All right, let's wrap this baby up. So, to wrap it up, what I've been up to, I just came from a huge 2-week traveling trip. I went to Europe, then I went to Michigan. The Europe one I'll save for another day. It was mind-blowing. The folks I met there are honestly angels on earth, and they're heavy hitters. They're heavy-hitting angels on earth. So we'll save that talk another day. Once we figure out this podcasting thing, we could pull one of them in here. I guarantee one of them would come on here and people would not believe who it would be. But we'll save that. The Michigan one, though, was a Christian Game Developers Conference. It was a Christian author and I think movie and conference called Realm Makers, founded by a guy by the name of Scott Miner. A very cool, humble dude. He runs a bookshop and more in Michigan. Really nice guy. Been running his conference for, I think, 13 years. I imagine it's every July. So if you're in the Michigan area, check out Realm Makers. Look up Scott Miner. super cool dude. And I got to meet the Christian developer scene. I like to say that CGDC and Lodris and all these guys are where games are made, and Reach Conference is where games are played by our 100 plus content
Hey.
creators across the US and globally. Reach Conference is where gamers play video games on the internet. We do more, but the majority of us are content creators, streamers on Twitch and all the other platforms where that is done well. And so don't forget, Reach Conference, November. By the time this airs, we'll be really close because we're ahead
Yeah.
a bunch of episodes. But look forward to seeing you guys. If it probably could be tomorrow by the time this airs. Find the link,
It's gonna be a
reachconf.org. What have you been up to,
it's gonna
Scruffy?
be a blast. For me, work has been really busy for me, so I haven't been doing much outside of work. So that's kind of been where a lot of my time is. I did finish Act Two of Clair Obscur in the limited time I have, and my goodness, that game just keeps pulling twist after twist after twist, and the story is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to see how it wraps up. And on another side, some of the things I've been doing is at Reach Conference, there's going to be a massive D&D campaign. And I've been working with a couple of DMs that were in a group together. Uh, if you have ever wanted to play D&D before, maybe haven't done it before, want to do it with some other Christian gamers, Reach Conference is going to be the place to do it because we are planning a 50-person campaign where what you do in your campaign is going to directly impact the next episode of a podcast that the creators are going to be at the conference for, and we're going to be filming the direct impact that you have in your campaign the next day. So you will get to see what your character was able to do, how it impacts the story of this campaign. And the show is called Thy Staff of Power. It's fascinating. It's a hilarious, great D&D podcast. But it's going to be really interesting to see um, what you'll be able to do with this. So I can't wait to see. You guys have to come. If you're coming to Reach Conference, make sure you sign up because it's going to be a blast.
Awesome, guys. So wait until the next. I'll see you in the next episode. See you in the Reach Conf Discord server. See you somewhere in Orlando, maybe at Reach Conf in Orlando. Get your tickets. And thanks for listening. See you guys next time.
Absolutely.
This is
Have a good one.
DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. All right. Bye.
See ya.